really excited to show you what I've got for you this week. This is part 3 of Alice the Genealogist and how she avoids falling down the rabbit hole. This is all about the fact that all of us have the inclination now and then to see things and kind of just, you start running down this path and going down that path, and pretty soon you're falling down a hole and you like, what was I researching? What was my research question? It's so easy to get off track, and I want to make sure you're okay. And I want to keep you out of the hole because I know you have goals that you want to accomplish, and I want to help you accomplish them. So we talked about that the first thing you have to do to avoid the rabbit holes is to have a very clear research question. And if by chance you haven't watched episode 2, go back and watch that because I think that's really key. It will kind of refresh you to do this. It's easy. All of us, no matter whether you're professional or not doing genealogy, it's easy to get sidetracked. And so everybody benefits by having a clear research question. The second thing that we talked about was once you have that question, then you can map out your next moves. You wouldn't go on a road trip without having a map, your phone, something to let you know where you're supposed to be. And that helps you avoid the wrong path, right? So it's absolutely the same thing when it comes to genealogy research, or really any project that you're working on. Mapping it out ahead of time. I've been redecorating my family room and everything gets mapped before I execute. And I'm amazed how many times I have totally changed direction. And it's way easier to change direction on your map, on your research plan, rather than knee deep in documents and costs incurred and trips made, and then to realize that you're off track. Number 3 is have a way to deal with BSOs. And so last week we talked about my method, and that's where we introduced Evernote and note-taking as a way to tag BSOs when you find them. What are BSOs? Bright, shiny objects. These are the things that dangle themselves and do a little sparkle and grab your eye, and pretty soon they drag you down the rabbit hole. So we have to have a way to deal with them. And what we do is we capture them, right? Because one of the reasons that we always go for it and just keep following that rabbit and end up down the hole and that BSO is that we're afraid if we don't, we're going to lose it. We're going to never get back to it. We're going to forget what it was. And what we end up doing is forgetting what the research plan was because we're following the BSO. So if we can capture these and then we can schedule time to get back to them, schedule your BSO time, you can let them go. You can let them go with confidence and feel good about it. So you record the BSO and then you return to the BSO. But it's important to have a really good environment that supports what you're trying to do here, that you're trying to stay on track, that you're trying to follow your research plan, that you want to make sure that you can quickly and easy do the capture and get back to them. If capturing is too cumbersome, you'll stop doing it, right? So I showed you last week, we were doing some capturing of notes and BSOs in Evernote, and that was there's a website, evernote.com, and we also used the software. And we talked about, I know some of you mentioned in the comments, you might use OneNote or Google Keep. There's different programs. I just happen to use Evernote, but the principles are essentially the same. We want to make sure, though, that we have a very supportive environment for what it is we're trying to do. And let's face it, we're spending a lot of time on our phone and on our tablets. That's just the reality of it. In fact, I hear from many listeners, particularly younger listeners, and they'll say, oh, I've been doing genealogy for about 6 months, but I want to get serious. And they've only been doing it on their phone. I mean, that's it. And I know some of you who've been doing genealogy for a while had a little cringe feel right there because it's hard to imagine. There's so many downfalls to doing it only on your phone. But it is the truth. We do it on our phone. When we're out on a road trip and we're doing some genealogy research, perhaps at an archive or at a cemetery, we're still jumping on our phones, jumping on our tablets to do more research. So let's deal with that reality and find ways, and I want to show you my favorite ways to capture BSOs on your mobile devices. There are different ways to do this. I'm going to show you my 2 favorite ways, 2 capture options that I use. So one, we've already talked about using Evernote as the desktop program on your computer. So it really makes sense to do it also on your phone or your tablet. And the beauty of that is you can, because while there was a software program that we downloaded for free to our computer, and you can always go to evernote.com and sign in and you'll see your whole account, you can go to the App Store on your phone or your tablet and type in Evernote and download the app for free. Get the app on all the devices that you use. So we're going to do that as our first method for capturing. And the second thing we do is I want to show you, I like to do home screen bookmark apps. I put apps in quotes because it's not really an app, but it looks just like an app. And what I like about that is it's not hugely deviating from all the other things that we normally do on our phone. Don't make your brain work too hard. And that's why these are 2 of my favorite methods. Don't make your brain work too hard, because you're already thinking and using Evernote and learning Evernote on your computer. Let's do that on your phone. And you're already really familiar with working with apps and downloading them and moving them around, that kind of stuff. Let's bookmark so they look like apps so our brain can spend more focus on the research at hand and less in trying to figure out the technology. So let's look at Evernote. Okay, so the process here, I'm going to give you a little rundown real quick of what the process is, and I'll show it to you in action. Okay, so you tap the share icon on the web page that you're looking at. If you're looking in your web browser on your phone and you think, oh, I want to keep this, it's a BSO, there's always a share icon. You tap that, you select Evernote, and Evernote will be a selection if you already have the app downloaded to your phone. So if you don't see it, go check. Did you already download it? If you didn't, go to the App Store and get the Evernote app. And then edit the note. So don't always just save it as a note exactly the way they have it's prompted to you as by default. You want to edit it so it makes sense to you. Remember, we were annotating our notes last week in the Evernote software. You can do the same thing to a certain extent on your phone. Then you're going to tag the note. Remember last week we created a BSO tag. So simple. That's the beauty of it. This little tag, when attached to these different items, these different notes that you want to look at later, but they're really not on track, with one click of the BSO tag, you have all of those at your fingertips. So they're never lost. Even if you don't see them on the screen, click the BSO tag, tap it on your phone, and you will see all your notes that have been tagged. Beautiful. And after you tag the note that you've created, you're going to tap save, and then it's going to go directly to Evernote. Save to your app, and then as your app is synchronizing through the internet connection that you have, it's going to go to your desktop as well. So it's going to go to all the devices that you have that are signed in. Now, with the free service, I think you only get 2 devices. If you upgrade, which is maybe like $7 a month or something like that, you get other services and features, as well as you can synchronize to more devices. So if you're like me and you got a laptop and you have a computer and you have a tablet and you have a phone, you want them all to be sharing the same notes. So no matter what you're working with, you're going to be able to access your notes. And then you're going to go to the app and you can retrieve the note. That's what we're going to do, okay? So let's take a look at it. So let's say I'm looking at the Library of Congress website, and I was doing some searching, and all of a sudden, as I'm searching, I want to save this. I'm going to tap the share icon. It's in the browser. I think I was using Safari. And then I tap more if I don't see Evernote, and I scroll down, and it's going to show me the apps on my phone. I selected Evernote. Note, it's going to populate it with information from the website. I'm going to add my own notation. And my question on this is this Otto Larsen related to us? I saw this article. I wonder. But rather than chase it, I want to mark it as a BSO. So I'm going to go and put it in. I actually have a notebook. You don't have to use notebooks in Evernote, but you can. I'm going to go more importantly and tag it. So tag it as BSO. I like to also tag it with what's the surname that I'm involved with here. So I'll tag it Larson. I also like to tag it for the record type. So if I want to look at all newspaper articles with one tap of the newspaper tag, I can see all newspaper articles I've done. Tap save, and you don't see anything happen on your screen, but it's already in your Evernote app. So let's go to the Evernote app. If I pull down the screen to refresh it, there's my note. Right there on top, the most current at the top. And you can see my notation that I made. Now notice that you don't see the newspaper article. This happens sometimes when you're note-taking. If it's displaying the record through a viewer on the web page, it may or may not show, but don't worry. Tap the info icon, and info provides the link. One tap, you'll be back on the web page where it came from. Now, if I really wanted the article itself, I would screen capture and just take a screen capture with my phone and then save that as the note. But I really wanted a link to the entire page, the whole source citation, everything. That's what this does for me. So again, just to kind of recap, when you're looking particularly at records, and they are displayed to you through a viewer portal. And Ancestry does this, MyHeritage does this, Library of Congress, many, many record websites. If you save it as a note, you're saving the page, but it's not necessarily, what you see on the page isn't necessarily what gets captured in the note. So if I really wanted the article itself, I would screen capture it and then save that image to Evernote. But for me, and I hope for you too, what's really most important is all the wonderful source citation information. The newspaper title, the date that it was published, the issue, the page number, all of that got saved in the note, plus the link. And that's really the key, isn't it? When you want to go back and work with this BSO, you're going to want to be able to go right back to the exact page. You don't want to go to Library of Congress and do a whole new search and hope that you can find it again. So with one tap of the link, Evernote's going to take us right back there. So that's saving a page, a web page that you're viewing in your browser. I was using the Safari browser app, and saving it as an Evernote note. And remember, if when you went to go save it and tap that share icon and you didn't see Evernote as an option, check and see if you do have it downloaded to your phone. You got your phone. Okay, and sign into your account. So that was the first one. That's using Evernote to save things as a BSO. And on my phone, I can tap the BSO tag in Evernote and I'll see all my BSO notes right there. Usually I do that on my desktop because I'm going to want to really dig into real research, and that's pretty hard on your phone, I think. So I'll go on my desktop, click BSO in Evernote, and there they all are. Another option, if you think that, I'm more likely to spend more time doing, following up on this actually on my phone or my tablet, which is perfectly fine, then this second option might be best for you. So option number 2 is to create a bookmark app. And I just call it an app because, as you can see, there's my bookmark. It says Otto Larson. That's the Library of Congress webpage I was just looking at. I relabeled it myself, and it looks just like an app, but technically it's more like a bookmark. It's a one-tap access back to the web page that I was looking at. And I love putting these in a folder. Now, you might be organizing the apps that you have, the actual apps, into folders. I know I love doing that because I've got so many apps. It's almost a necessity, really, at this point. In fact, I have pages of folders, right? So I have a genealogy folder. I have, grandkid folder. I've got all kinds of different folders for different types of things that I do and the apps that I have. I create a BSO folder because, again, I don't want this little brain. It gets so overloaded sometimes, and I don't want to have to think about it, and I don't want to be afraid I'm going to lose my BSOs. So I want to make them super obvious. and really easy to access, just like I would any other app. So here, let's show you how to create your folder, your app, your bookmark, all that good stuff. When you're on a web page, looking at your phone, I'm going to tap that share icon. Now, that share icon could be in different places depending on what kind of phone you have or what kind of tablet. But here you can see on my screen, it's at the bottom of the screen. And I find this article, I'm interested, but I can't do that right now because it's not part of my research. But perhaps this article, which is actually on my website, but let's say you find another one and you think you're looking at that website for one reason and, oh, they have these other great articles. Tap share. When you get there, you're coming to the same kind of list of options where we found Evernote as an option. I'm going to tap add to home screen. I want this to become sort of an app, a bookmark on my home screen. Before you just tap add, take a moment because you'll notice that the website always puts in its own text. By default, it's going to have all kinds of text. And if they're smart, they're going to have a lot of text. That text helps Google find web pages. So when people search for stuff, their web page will pop up. But it's too much for what you're trying to do. I use the title as an opportunity to really flag what it was that was important to me about this BSO. Remember seeing my little bookmark app in the folder? It said Otto Larsen. That wasn't the name of the Library of Congress website, was it? So I typed in Otto Larsen because that's what I want to remind myself later is what I was paying attention to and what I want to follow up on. So edit that text, and then you can tap add and check it out. It just pops it right there on your screen, just like an app, like any other app. It's not an app in terms of functionality, but it looks the same. So your brain, again, is really getting this and it's not having to work hard. Press and hold that app. Just like when you move apps around, have you done that where you press and hold and they start to shake? Lately, the iPhone has added a new menu that kind of pops up. But if you continue to press and hold, you can either select, move it around, or you can just continue holding it. It'll start to shake. When it does, you can move it. And so we want to move that into a folder. On my iPhone, I create folders by taking one app or one bookmark and putting it on top of another, and it automatically creates a folder. So we're going to create a BSO folder. When I put one BSO on top of another, all of a sudden the folder pops up. I can name that folder. Chances are your phone or your tablet is going to give you a name that it thinks might fit, but you want to change it, and you can easily edit that and make it BSO. Okay, so there you go. So along with entertainment, photography, and health, and all these other things that I have, one tap. Anytime I've got a free moment, if you're a soccer mom and you're waiting in line in the car and you want to take a look at a couple of those BSOs, you tap the BSO folder and pick which one you want to pursue. Let's see it in action. So I'm going to go to Safari, or a newspaper article that we found. I was very excited, but it is not in line with my research plan right now. I'm going to tap the share icon, okay? And this is going to pop up my menu, and add to home screen is the feature you're looking for. I'll have this in the show notes for you. Here's that long title. Let's edit that, okay? Because that's supposed to work for us. We don't have to accept the default. So I can type in here Otto Larsen. That was the name of the person in the article. And I'm like, I haven't heard this name before, but it's in the right town. It's the right surname. I also added the word newspaper, and I tap add. And now you can see it's on my home screen. Great, but I want to put it in my BSO folder. Tap it, it shakes, right? And drag it over and drop it on the BSO folder. Now, I already had a BSO folder, but if I didn't have one, once I drop one on top of another, I can edit this and I can call it anything I want, but I want to call this BSO. Tap outside the folder or press your home button on your screen and on your phone, and it will just automatically stop shaking. And with one tap, you'll be able to go right back to that exact page. It's not quite as detailed as Evernote, but as you can see, if you're more likely to be working on the BSOs on your mobile device, sometimes this is a nice way to go because it's already on your home screen. It'll jog you. Oh, hey, I got a few seconds. Let's take a look at this. All right. So resources for this, I didn't even mention to you guys last time, I do have a quick reference guide on Evernote. So it's in the Genealogy Gems store. And I know many of you like to have something in writing, you want to follow along. So I wanted to let you know that I do have the Evernote guide. I think it's like $5 and it's a digital download. It's in the store. That guide is really about mostly the desktop, because most of the time we're doing a lot of this Evernote work on the desktop, and I have in there for you all the different things that I do, the way I set mine up, the tags I use, all that stuff. Of course, I have about 6 classes, full-length classes, just using Evernote. I also have hard drive organization, lots of other things, in-depth, slower paced, so that you can really do it along with me. That's part of premium membership. Okay, so those are resources for you. At genealogygems.com, just tap store. And there, my friends, you have the mobile organization, how we make sure that our mobile environment is supporting us staying on track and really succeeding. That's what I want you to do, is be able to succeed in your research. Next, we're going to go back to the computer desktop, and I want to share with you some of my favorite tips and tricks and ways that I stay organized and ways that I think will help you be even more productive and stay on track and not fall down the rabbit hole. Kristen had a question, and it's a really excellent one. It comes off of our conversations here in the last couple of episodes. Thank you so much, Kristen, for sending in your beautiful teacup. Oh my gosh, that's lovely. I love roses. Okay, so I'm going to hop over to PowerPoint because I want to show you that her question was about creating a new tag in Evernote on mobile. And she had all these question marks like, what's the deal? You know, that doesn't look like you can do that. You can. It's a pain in the neck, but you can. Okay. So I want to show you how to do this. It's funny because tagging is the backbone of what they do, and they did not make this very obvious. Okay. So here we are on mobile, and you're looking at Evernote. I've opened the app, and let's say we want to create a brand new note. So we're going to create a tag for this note, but we want a new tag. So you can press the plus button. This is not intuitive, and that's probably why you didn't see it, because normally on desktop, the info isn't really where you do tagging. It's got the links, and it's got the date, and it's got all that kind of stuff, but we typically do tagging at the top of the note. You have to tap info button on your note, whether it's an existing note or a new note. Once you do that, then you're going to see add tag. Now, the thing is, it doesn't say, create a new tag. It just says add a tag. That's okay. Tap it. And so you can select from the tags. But if you have a new one that you want to create, so I've tagged it BSO, but let's say I want to create an 11s tag. We can do that. I'm going to type that in. Now you have to press return to kind of set it, okay, to lock it in. Once you do that, then you have an 11s tag. Okay, so we can close that up. If you wanted to see other tags and check the list, you can click the plus sign here in the note, and you can see we now have under E, they'll give you all the tags alphabetically, and under E, you can see we have 11s. So we did create a brand new tag in our Evernote note on mobile. I'm going to get back to our final installment of how Alice, the genealogist, avoids the rabbit hole. Now, we talked about you don't want to chase the BSOs, right? And you want to capture them. And we want to be able to capture them, and we want to be able to return to them. Okay, so we've been talking about that. Well, this week we're going to talk about your environment, because pairing your research plan with and your process with a really supportive computing environment, of course, is going to make you more successful. So let's talk about your computing environment. You're on your laptop or your desktop and you're in your web browser. And we talked earlier in a previous episode, I think it was the first episode, we talked about the fact that you could use Snooze Tabby. I hope you guys are using that. Put in the comments if you're using Snooze Tabby, if you like that. I use it all the time. And of course, you can do that on Chrome and the Firefox web browser. So that's a web extension that you can add. We talked also about that you could close a tab too soon. And so you could use Control-Shift-T or Command-Shift-T, and that would reopen it, right? Be aware also that you can also right-click on a new tab, the plus sign, and it will give you in the pop-up menu the option to reopen. So let's look at that. If we're on our web browser, and here we're at the National Archives in the US, and we're looking at some stuff, and let's say I close this tab. Well, I want to reopen it. Come up to the plus sign, right-click, and now I'm going to go to reopen tab. And you can see it gives you the hotkey. It says, well, you can also do Shift-Control-T, which is kind of a nice reminder. It pops that tab right back up, which is wonderful. And we can continue to do it so you can see if I had multiple tabs and I've closed them, but I want to backtrack, I could just go and reopen, reopen, reopen. Really simple. So if you forget the hotkeys, the Control or Command-Shift-T, you can now right-click on the plus sign, and that'll take care of it as well. But I want to show you a way that you can conserve your resources, because having too many tabs open uses a lot of computing resources. In the web store, and I'm doing this in Chrome because I use Chrome. This is also, I believe, available in Firefox. Go to the web store and search for one tab. Okay? Here's one tab, and we can click through and see it's got a good rating. Lots of people are using it. Click the Add to Chrome button, and you're going to add this free extension to your web browser. So here it is up in the web browser. And you can see it's been added to Chrome. So it looks like a little funnel. It's like it takes all your tabs and funnels them down, which is kind of nifty, because while I love using multiple tabs as I'm researching, I don't necessarily want to use up all those resources all the time. So I'm going to click the funnel, the one tab, and it gives you a couple different options. You can export your URLs, but it has consolidated all of these tabs. So if you need to, you have a lot of them open, you can get them all down to one page with clickable links. So you click the link, and now you're reopening only the tabs you need right now. Using multiple tabs is such an effective research tool. You can even right-click on any link in your genealogy websites, and it will open in a new tab. But then you have a lot of tabs, and that gives you that breadcrumb trail. But we want to be able to also not use up too much of the computing resources of the computer. It can really slow things down. So one tab is going to be your answer for that. So check it out. One tab, it's a free web extension in your web store. Now, that's kind of taken care of on the web browser tab. But one of the things that really distracts me, it's kind of a BSO all of its own, is email. I'm addicted to going back and looking and seeing what's happening in email, and it's very distracting. And also then your email inbox just becomes full of stuff. And there again, I don't want to have all these emails that look like they're just waiting for my attention to draw me away from what it was I was researching at the time. So I've got some ideas for you. If you use Gmail, and I know a lot of you do, this is Google's free email service, then snoozing is built right in. And as I show you this feature, if you use a different service, go and check and see if you can find this kind of a feature. It might already be built in. You can also Google it with the name of the email provider that you use and put in like the word snooze or something like that, or schedule, and see if it has those features. If not, you might want to consider a Gmail account, maybe even just for genealogy or whatever. But I know a lot of you use Gmail. And so what you can do is you have an email and you know that you really don't need to do anything about this for about a week. Like if I've been doing some online shopping and I want to remember that these things are coming. In fact, I've got a really, really cool family history item coming today. I'm hoping everything comes on time. I'm going to show it to you next week. But I didn't need to have that email in my inbox for a week. But I wanted to remember that this thing was coming and I should expect to see it. Or maybe you've sent a request to somebody and you want to follow up in about a week. You don't want to hound them to death every day, and you don't want it sitting in your inbox. You can snooze these. So we're going to click the little clock icon that's up in the toolbar of your Gmail account. And you can see that you've got several options. You can snooze this particular email that you have open right now until later today, until tomorrow, this weekend, next week, or you can pick a custom day. So I might want to just say, let's just throw that till tomorrow. I want this out of my eyesight until tomorrow. I want to also show you how to pick a date, because this is probably the feature I used the most often. So it's going to take you to a little calendar and you can say, I want this 2 weeks from now. I want this next Thursday, whatever the date is. And you can see, you can even set what time you want this email to return to your inbox. You're going to love this. I promise. It seems kind of weird at first to use it, but after you get going and you get in the habit, oh my gosh, it feels so good not to look at an inbox that's just screaming at you that there's all these things that need to be done or that are waiting for your attention and you don't want to forget about them. Kind of the same concept as BSOs. It's hard to let something go if you feel like you're going to forget about it and it's going to get lost. Snoozing your email makes sure that it doesn't. It actually comes back. So I'm going to click the number on the calendar and I can click save. And then you can see that here in my inbox at that particular time, did you notice that? It just popped right up. So I can see in my updates, I had snoozed an email about Family Search New Records. And now at the appointed time on the appointed day, it resurfaced, highlighted in orange, told me it was there, and said this was a snoozed email. Now it's time to take a look at it. This is so handy. You're going to love this. Now, you might be thinking, but what if I snooze it and then I realize, oh, I need this now. I need to get back to it now. You can do that, okay? So once you are anywhere in your inbox, look over to the left and you'll see, of course, inbox and drafts and spam, but you'll see snoozed. And there's that same little clock icon. So it alerts you that if you click that, everything that you have snoozed will be in one list. Let's do that. And check it out. I told you I snooze a lot of stuff. And this is kind of like a to-do list, if you will. Things return to me on the day that I need them, at the time that I need them, and remind me that they need to be done. So everything will be there, and it will be very obvious to you that these are snoozed emails and what date they're currently scheduled to come back. You can always change that date, so don't worry. They're still there, but they're not in your inbox clamoring for your attention, and that's a good thing. Now, another thing that can happen as we are moving along and we're being more productive, we're kind of getting things faster, you might find that, oh, wait a minute, what happened? An hour ago I was searching for something and now I don't know where that is. I need to find it again. Or what was that website that I went to? You have a breadcrumb trail. If you are particularly in using Chrome, if you're signed into your free Google account, and typically if you're signed into Gmail, you're going to be in your Google account, generally speaking, on your computer. You can follow the breadcrumb trail by checking out your MyActivity. And, a lot of us we don't love the fact that Google kind of tracks what we're doing. But in this instance, it's actually really helpful. And I want to show you not only how you can find it, how you can tap into it as a resource, but how you can turn it off if you want to. Okay? So remember that although, you're using maybe these different Google tools in particular, or any other kinds of tools, there are typically settings and ways for you to manage the way in which you're interacting with them. So let's look at MyActivity. And if you want to find this, you just Google it. Just go to google.com and type in MyActivity. I guarantee you Google will put that first on the list. So here's what it looks like. And you can see that I can search MyActivity at the top of the page. I can also filter by, that was last weekend I was working on this. I want to just see everything I was doing last Saturday during my BSO time. So I can filter by date and time or product. Product being, do you want to check your Gmail, your Chrome activity, what you were watching on YouTube? You can pick what the Google product was that you were working with. And then you can see, okay, here's some of the activity. And then as you scroll down, it goes back in time. It's starting with today, and it's showing you by timestamps what the activity was. So let me show you this kind of in real time. Here we are on my Google activity. And as I scroll down, you can see what I searched for, what I viewed on Gmail, the websites that I went to, and each one is linked. So it's really quick, one-click access straight back to the resource that you were using at that date and time. It's really handy. I know there are times where I go and I find something, and a week later I go to search for it again, and it's not popping up. And it's like, what's going on? I can go to MyActivity and go back and actually find the original link. And that's really cool. You can always delete these. If there's something you don't want to keep in your activity, just go in and click the little triple dots and select delete. Now, you can turn this off. Okay, so we're going to go to activity controls. And here there's a slider. Now, they call it pausing. They don't want you to think of it in terms of permanently turning it off. But you can pause it. It'll ask you, are you sure you want to pause it? Yes, I want to pause it. And now it's paused. So now, just be aware that as you're researching, as you're doing things, it's not going to be tracking them. You won't be able to come back to MyActivity and view them again. But you can always go back in and say, I just want to turn this on while I'm doing genealogy. All the rest of the time, turn it off. You can do that too. So the power is in your hands. You can go to MyActivity and change your activity controls. Here is one that I just showed this tool to Bill, my husband, yesterday, because he was having a challenge. He was doing some shopping research, and he's like, I have to keep loading these pages over and over. I mean, what a hassle. And I said, I have a tool for you. So I think this is going to come in handy for you as well. It's a time saver, and it will also save you from reloading, re-accessing genealogy websites that you've already been to that weren't the thing that you were looking for. You don't want to go back to the same one. You're looking for something new. You can preview your Google search results. So you don't have to click and load every web page at every time. You can actually do a really quick preview right from the Google search results page. So this is a web extension, okay? And we're going to go to the web store and type in Google Results Previewer. This is a free web extension, and I'll have all this in the show notes when I publish that for this episode. And here now I've already installed it, so it just says rate it, but you'll have a add to Chrome button. So I've installed it, and it's here on let's do a search. Let's go to google.com. And if you want to know how to customize your Google like this, I've got an article on that at Genealogy Gems. I'll have that in the show notes. So here I've got results. All I have to do now is hover my mouse over the link, and look what's happening on the right-hand side of the page. It's previewing. It's actually showing me the full website. This is a really quick visual check. Is this the site that I want? Oh, I recognize that picture. I've already been there. It's such a time saver. And in fact, when you hover your mouse over the link and the preview shows up, you can actually bring your mouse straight over and it will pop out just a little bit more. You still haven't fully loaded it, but you can go through and even scroll down the page. It is a wonderful, wonderful time saver and will help you avoid repeating yourself, but also just kind of quickly verifying before you load the page that that's a page that you want. So this is your Google search results previewer. And again, I use it a lot. And I tell you, these skills are going to work really, really well, these tools, for the rest of your life as well. Whatever it is you do all day long, in addition to genealogy, you're going to love having the previewer. It's a super help. So there you have it. Throughout this session on Alice and how she avoids the rabbit hole, we've talked about how to map out your research, how important that is, a plan for dealing with the BSOs, the bright, shiny objects that keep popping back up and kind of just distracting us. And we've talked about some tech tools and tips that save time and increase your productivity. And the more that happens, the more really committed you can become and feel confident about the research that you're doing and sticking with this plan, having the muscle to see it through and keep using it. So that brings us to the final ways to avoid those vulnerabilities to rabbit holes is to implement these ideas and tools and then to use them consistently. And even if at first they feel a little bit awkward or you're like, what was it she was talking about? Check the show notes. Give yourself a week to really just consistently use them, and you're going to find they become second nature and your productivity is going to go up. My final words of wisdom on this particular topic is it takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. So don't just wish to find your ancestors and your family history, but do the planning. Plan it out. Plan your environment. Get the tools in place and have a game plan. It totally pays off. And it really does take as much time as all the floundering that happens when we're just hoping we're going to run into that next piece of information that we're looking for. If you need some resources, we have the Evernote quick guide. In fact, I put this in the newsletter this last week. So it's like a $5 digital download if you would want a quick sheet to help you kind of jumpstart getting into Evernote. Plus, I put in there all the tags that I'd use, all the general genealogy tags. So if you want some pointers on how to make the most out of Evernote, that's available in our store. And you can just go to genealogygems.com and click store. And of course, I saw a lot of you guys became premium members this last couple of weeks. And I'm really glad because this whole entire video series plus a downloadable handout is going to be available to premium members. And of course, over 50 of my classes. So I think we have about 6 full-length classes, including how to create a research plan with Evernote. I have all kinds of setting up your digital desktop, lots and lots of video classes available for you. So there you have it. How Alice, the genealogist, avoids the rabbit hole.